It's alive! It's alive! Hello, Mr. Ridgely.
Mr. Madison, great to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of David Lee Madison's The End of the Night with your host, Mr. David Lee Madison.
Why, thank you, Mr. Ridgely. And, of course, The End of the Night is brought to you by none other than... Come on, give me my... There you go. Ladies and gentlemen, brought to you by Film Hub, a great resource for independent filmmakers to get their films and projects out to the masses. I must say, not only do they help us out with the show, but they're also the distribution company of all my feature films at the moment. So check out Film Hub if you are a filmmaker. Thank you, Mr. Ridgely.
Absolutely. Now let's put you on the spot.
StreamYard! Now, I'll let you do the StreamYard one. Because you have the talking duck.
People always ask us what program we're using to stream this show on to make it look so professional and entertaining. That would be StreamYard.
Whoa, that was wild. Your mic just got crazy hot.
Oh, did it? That's not
Stream. No, it went back to normal.
Okay, good.
Okay. I want to say hello. I want to say hello to our dear friend, Mr. Sean Smithson. Hello, Mr. Smithson. Of course, great filmmaker and just overall great guy, Mr. Ed McKeever out there. Good evening, Ed. I hope everything is wonderful with you. And here we are. We have another end of the night, another Sunday with our dear friends with us. Hello, Kenneth. Thank you for having me on your show Friday. If anybody has not seen Kenneth's show, The Geek Demon, he was kind enough to have me as the guest on his show last Friday night. Give it a chance if you to get a chance. Square Table Degenerates podcast. Hello to you guys, and thank you for stopping on. Are these friends of yours, Mr. Ridgely?
I don't know.
Okay, well.
I don't recognize the name, to be honest. Kenneth, I did catch your episode with David on, and I actually learned things about David that I didn't know. It was pretty cool, so everybody go check that out.
Yes, you learned that I'm insatiably insane, and that for some bizarre reason, as I get older, my hair stands up more.
That's right.
Which is just not a good look.
And we found out that even though he looks 5'2" on screen, he's actually 6'7".
Yes. Awesome. So, Joe, what have you done since our last lovely show that we did our big Oscars broadcast? Anything exciting?
Man, you're putting me on the spot.
No, sorry.
Not really.
No?
Watched a few movies to relax, and that's about it.
Okay.
So.
How's the wife and daughter?
The wife and daughter are great. Thank you for asking.
And I know that they have
yours?
a venture. Oh, they're driving me crazy. So they're doing their job. They're doing great.
Is that an opening for me?
It's called an alley-oop, a pass.
Hey, it's just, ladies and gentlemen, yes, please. My wife and daughter are venturing into a new business, wax melts, and they are also going to do. They're doing all sorts of new projects. It's kind of driving me nuts because there's too many smells going on in the house. They're doing the aerosol things, and they're doing bath salts and Hearts of the Mystic Folk. If you get a chance to check it out, please do. Everything is handcrafted, handmade, and 100% natural.
Sweet. You caught me with my glasses on.
Ooh, sorry.
Ooh. Everybody who watches this show, this is now our 9,000th episode. No. Knows that sometimes I like to have some fun with either talking about films that you should catch and highly recommended. Yes. CJ, you got your shipment? Damn you.
You guys didn't get your shit?
Not yet. Hello, Ken. This is at the point in my show where I like to maybe look at a movie that is not extremely popular but is great, or an old antique or an old antique toy. And tonight I have a couple of antique toys I want to show you. What do you think, Joe? You excited about this?
I am very excited. I'm going to give full screen.
Okay.
Oh.
My very first one, I think almost everybody who's probably over 35 remembers this toy because it was something that we all wanted when we were kids. But Joe, I'm sure you remember this one when you were a kid. Do you remember the Snoopy snow cone machine?
Yes, absolutely.
I remember when I was a little kid, I wanted the Snoopy snow cone machine so badly. And now that I'm an old man, I literally have the Snoopy snow cone machine. But sadly, I've never opened it. It's still sealed. And I haven't made myself a Snoopy snow cone yet.
I've got a story behind that.
Okay.
Behind the Snoopy snow cone machine. So I had to be 4 or 5 years old, Huntington Harbor, Long Island, Christmas Day. Got my Godzilla with the shooting arm, the fist.
I remember. He was part of the Shogun Warriors, wasn't he?
Yes. Got the Snoopy snow cone machine. Got the parts laid out. Was going to go make it. I was a little kid. I had to go pee. Come back. Our dog chewed the thing that you push the ice down
with. Ah.
Chewed it all to hell. Never got to play with the Snoopy snow cone.
No Snoopy snow cones for you, my friend. No, that saddens me.
So then I shot the dog with the fist from Godzilla.
Absolutely, that's what you should have done. Here's another toy. As many of you know, I'm an enormous Star Trek fan, and I have a lot of the classic antique Star Trek toys. Now, this one I think is only probably about 10, 12 years old. It's not extremely old, but this is just a lot of fun. I don't think they made a ton of these. What's up, Tim? I hope you're well. But how about this bad boy? It's Captain Kirk fighting Khan. And when I say Khan, I mean I'm talking about Ricardo Montalban. It looks like it's when they had their big battle in the engineering room in the original episode of Space Seed. So there you go. They can you see that?
Yeah.
It's Captain Kirk and Ricardo Montalban fighting in Star Trek. What else do you need? I mean, what else does a 50-year-old guy need but
Star Wars for life?
Star Trek toys. Star Wars.
So we got an answer from the Square Table. I had Scott on my show once. He promoted this show on Facebook, so I'm here.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm very happy that you guys stopped by. And please, everybody, check out Square Table's podcast, Square Table Degenerates podcast. If they had Scott on, they must have a wonderful show. I'm a Star Wars guy, but had mad respect for Khan! Well, you're a smart guy, Ed. You know what time it is.
Hot Wheels and Legos. Well, Ken's Canadian. You can't blame him for that.
No. Actually, here's where it was at. All right. Without further ado, I'm not gonna. I have another toy, but it's already 10 after, and I'll wait. I'll wait for another show. Is our dear, beloved Grunkle Stan in the Grunkle Stan? I got the wrong show.
Wow.
I've been watching nothing but Gravity Falls, man, and my daughter and I literally like OD on Gravity Falls, and she wanted me to call Uncle Scott Grunkle Scott, and that's why I called him Grunkle Stan there. But is the living legend, my dear friend, my co-host, Grunkle Scott?
He is, but I have to do one thing before we do that, if I may, please.
Absolutely.
Everyone who is watching right now, please go to the End of the Night Facebook page, like it, subscribe it, and then go over to Tech Defects on YouTube. The address is right here. That is where all the End of the Night episodes are going to be archived. So do us a favor and subscribe there as well.
Sweet.
And
ladies and gentlemen, Grunkle Scott.
Oh, I caught him drinking.
Oh.
You caught
Roxanne. You got the Roxanne look going there. Very Steve Martin.
How are you?
How are you, my dear friend? I'm sorry I called you Grunkle Stan, but please understand that it's the stupid show that my daughter makes me watch, and it's not so stupid because I sit there and I actually love it. And Scott and Stan are relatively close, and you could see why, at my advanced age, I could make a simple mistake like that.
Hey, it's all good, guys. It's all good. Grunkle, Uncle Scott, Uncle Chewy, that guy.
Wait, Scott. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Oh, wow. Guys, I'm not, truth be told, I'm really not the biggest sci-fi guy, but if I had to choose, I wouldn't be able to choose because I go back to Star Trek on TV as like a real little kid. And I was like 14 when Star Wars came out in the theater. And it was just like an amazing event just to be part of it. So don't make me choose.
All right. So he doesn't have to be dead to me yet. Then. It's all
No, absolutely. So how are you doing, Grunkle Scott? Anything exciting happened to you in the last week?
Oh, man. What about I'm a little nervous tonight, guys. I go for my first Pfizer tomorrow. And I don't know. I'm just not the biggest fan of needles anymore. Get it? No. I had a past. No, that's not funny. I'm not making jokes about needles. But, to me, when you were a recreational drug user and then you flip and you clean up, now you worry about every little thing you put in your body, kind of. So I just hope I don't get too sick from it. But I get all right, Ken, yeah.
I got the Johnson & Johnson maybe about almost 6 weeks ago, and absolutely nothing happened. So don't worry about it.
You were golden. Yeah. I don't anticipate any trouble, but I'm probably not going to sleep so great tonight. I'm not a morning person as it is, and it's first thing in the morning, which is a giant drag. But hey, you'll be fine. Stay active, move around, move that arm.
Says the lovely and talented Libby McDermott. Matt was right on there. Battlestar Galactica was pretty epic. Sean says Star Trek was our future. Star Wars, a galaxy far, far away. Two different things. Okay. Very, very democratic of you, Sean.
You can't really. Apples and oranges, Shatner and whoever, Harrison Ford.
It's not like I asked Marvel or DC. Come on.
Yeah, that's true.
That's clearly Dark Horse. With that being said, first off, before I do this, Mr. Ridgely is our lovely and talented guest in the green room ready to go.
It appears that she is.
All right. Without further ado, our guest tonight has appeared in several classic television shows, some great motion pictures. I just got done reading her book, Odd Woman Out, which was all kidding aside, everybody out there, run out and pick this book up. It's a fantastic read. We'll talk about it a little later in the interview. Odd Woman Out was just a really, really a great book. And I'm a lifelong fan of this wonderful, wonderful actress. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Melanie Chartoff.
Oh, I hope I can live up to that intro. Thank you very much. And welcome to the female gaze, David.
Yes.
We women have been forced to, read from the male gaze all our lives. And now finally we're forcing you guys to take a look at what we think of you.
Yes, you're giving it back.
Yeah. Well, it's not all punishment. I mean, I found myself culpable in a lot of these relationships. I didn't really blame, the men I was involved with because I was stupid to get involved with them. So,
you know what? We're all young once, and we all live through what we lived through. So I totally understand what you're talking about. First off, I want to thank you so much for being on our show tonight. It's absolutely an honor and a privilege. And the very, very first question I'm going to ask you is a simple one. And I didn't really get it from your book after reading it. So what What inspired you? Like, was it a teacher or an actor or an actress or a filmmaker? What inspired you to become, an actor or
Well,
actress?
I had been a writer. In fourth grade, I had a play produced that I wrote. And then when they wouldn't cast me in it, I said, well, I've got to be an actor too, so I can play the leads in my own books and plays and musicals. So I kind of put the writing aside and became an apprentice at Long Wharf Theater. And then at the Yale Dramatic Association, I was in a lot of their plays because they didn't have women yet at Yale University. So I got to be a townie and be in the plays. And then I was just very fortunate to get a small drama scholarship to college. And the main reason I went to the college was because it was on Long Island. It was very close to New York, so I could commute in and see what real theater and real acting was like. So that was how it began for me.
That was at Delphi College, correct?
At Delphi University on Garden City, Long Island, yes.
Oh, sweet. I grew up in Middle Village, Queens, so I know that area very, very well. At this point, I want to introduce you to my co-host on this show. He's lovingly called Uncle Scott Schiaffo. Scott, Melanie Chartoff.
Hi, Scott. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Melanie. How are you?
I'm pretty good.
Very happy to have you on tonight. I glad that Dave asked you about how you kind of came into the acting, but I got to believe you at some point because sketch comedy was a big thing on Fridays, and takes a lot of preparedness and at the same time a tremendous amount of creative smarts. What drove you to sketch comedy?
Well, I wasn't, a fourth threat actor. I was going to do whatever I was allowed to do. I loved it all. And while I was doing stand-up, I was also in a play with a British company, a Moliere play on Broadway. So I've always tried to do all the things. I mean, I love all of it. I love high comedy. I love low comedy. I love Shakespeare. So I just joined an improv troupe in New York City when I moved there, called The Proposition. They had come down from Boston. It was Jane Curtin, Josh Mustel, some fantastic improvisers and actors, Gray Baker, and that was making up musicals on the spot from audience suggestions. And it was my first paid job off Broadway, and it ran for a long time until the theater collapsed. Actually, it was called the Broadway Central Theater, Mercer Arts Center downtown in New York. The theater collapsed, and then I just started auditioning again for other things. But improv has always been a mainstay, which makes you adaptable for everything. Drama is improv also. They give everybody the scripts and you all read the lines, but your behavior is completely improvisational. So I highly recommend improv for anybody in the acting profession, because at some point you're going to need to be aboriginal in your behavior, and you want to really be in touch with your creative spark. You can't be completely reliant on the words. So.
Wow. So that group literally put the shows on at the Mercer Arts Center, because I'm aware of what that was. That was a huge place in the history of New York City as far as music and apparently for performing as well.
Yeah,
wow.
There were other plays there at various times. It was kind of a hub. I mean, there were 4 different spaces, and it was wonderful to go from one theater to another when we were off our show. And it was just great cross-pollination there, and I really felt part of the New York scene and being part of that. Then after that, I got my first Broadway show and another, so I was in a more desirable position for agents to come and find me. Then I started being brought out here to test for pilots and stuff. So I was very lucky early in my 20s to have a lot of possibilities and work and be with William Morris Agency. So I could be part of it.
Is that how Fridays happened? Because that was West Coast, correct?
It was West Coast, and Larry David and Bruce Mahler and I were all East Coast. We were just brought in to audition and screen test over and over and to improvise. And I actually wasn't cast on Fridays at first. The ABC executive, Stu Bloomberg's wife, was cast, Mary Bloomberg. And then I got really depressed, and I smoked a lot of dope, and I got really fat. And then like a week and a half later, they called and said, you're starting on the show. My agent, William Morris, said, quick, get over there. And I was like, I'm so depressed and fat and stoned. But I jumped right in. the ensemble had really already formed, and they had already perfected their characters with the writers. So they gave me the news, so there'd be something for me to do. And the hard part for us on Fridays was they didn't really develop the female characters, just the male characters. So whereas Michael Richards had a recurring character called Dick that he did often on the show, and the writers really knew how to write for that, we only had one female writer, and she was really one of the guys. She didn't really write a lot for the women, so it was a tough time. Unlike Rosie Schuster and Annie Beats on the Saturday Night Live first writers block, they didn't have those kinds of ideas on our show. So
yeah, I wonder if it's an East Coast, West Coast thing too. Like maybe New York, they were a little more hip and they knew they needed to let the women be in charge.
Yes, and I think Lorne Michaels just had a more open attitude toward female comedy and feminism. I don't think our producers did. They were like network guys. They weren't coming up from the streets of comedy like Lorne Michaels had in Toronto. So it was a whole other kind of chemistry that we had, and we didn't hang out because the show was shot at AB Studios in Los Feliz, and there were no restaurants to go to after hours. There's really no place to hang out. Whereas on Saturday Night Live, they had all of New York, and they could go and stay up till 2 and 3 and do drugs together and really commune. So we had a very different kind of setup. It did not encourage cross-pollination between the men and the women writers. It was tough.
I remember, I read your book this week. A part of there was you did a play called, was it Via Galactica, as my mind reminds?
Yeah, it was a space-age rock opera, starring Raul Julia, actually directed by Peter Hall, soon to become knighted by the Queen, Sir Peter Hall. And it had everything going for it except a good book. Book was amazing. The poetry, lyricism of the show was very esoteric, like poems are, full of metaphors. It was very hard for the audience to really infer the storyline. So it was not a success, and it was a very expensive and very challenging failure. It was kind of like Spider-Man was some years. We were really at risk. There were so many special effects, and we were dwarfed by them and dropped from the ceiling, and you'll have to read the book. It's quite a story.
Well, it's a wonderful, wonderful story. Can you share the story about the malfunction that happened on stage, or do you want to leave that as a surprise for people who read the book?
Well, there are lots of other surprises.
There's tons. Well, everybody who watches this show, please, you know that I'm a straight shooter. When I say something is good, it's good. Her book is fantastic, and it really it takes you in so many different places, and all the things that touched this beautiful, wonderful actress along the way in her life. It was just really, really. It wasn't what I expected, to be honest. It was just a very, very smart, very hip book, very funny at times, somber at times, but just a great, great, great book. And if you'd love to share, if you could share that story about the Via Galactica mishap, I found it to be one of the more interesting parts, stories in the book.
Yeah, I don't think everybody always knows what's going on behind the scenes on Broadway. Well, back then they didn't. Now everything is public domain. But we were about to open the show. We were in what's called previews, which are the tryout nights before the show goes on. And on a preview night with a very small number of people in the audience, and with the producers and the backers were all there for free, and the whole orchestra was assembled. The orchestra was so gigantic because of all the spaceship sounds and acoustical, experimental equipment they were using. A lot of them were in other rooms, and the conductor was videoed to other rooms. I mean, it was the biggest thing. And I had been, studying the classics, and I had been studying with Stella Adler. I was like a really straight theater type person. This was like way out. So the night of the first preview, Peter Hall encouraged us, in his stentorian tones, to go on with the show. You've journeyed, you've done wonderfully, and now you're going to present it to the world. And we were these characters who lived on another planet, who had escaped from the planet Earth, called the Ithacans. And at the very end of the show, there's this wonderful song called New Jerusalem Will Rise, in which we all climb onto a fire escape type staircase into a rocket ship that was on the stage that we built during the show. and smoke was coming out of the bottom of it, and these enormous special effects, and we're singing our hearts out, and the staircase begins to rise up to the rafters as we rehearsed it, and then we heard these metal scraping sounds, and then the whole thing kind of tipped and listed, and then it listed the other way, and then we fell. 40 people on the staircase. We fell and penetrated the stage, went below the level of the stage. This is with people screaming in the audience, the orchestra getting hit by debris. The winches had pulled loose from the still wet ceiling of this brand new theater called the Uris. And everything went black. So I thought I was dead because I saw my resume passing before my eyes. Not my life, my real life, just my resume, because this was, well, I got to go on Broadway, and I got to be off Broadway, and I'm like chirping away to myself, well, at least I did this and this and this. I got somewhere to my dream. And then this bright light came up, and it was not God, it was the crew, and they were lifting us out from under the stage. I only had bruised hands and a fractured foot. Some people were really injured. A lot of people walked out. We all walked out until the producers and the director agreed to go on the equipment every night, make sure it was stable before the actors went on. So we all went back into it, but by now the scandal had spread through the city. And everybody came to see it, as our last 3 or 4 nights of performances were quite the conversation piece. Everybody came to see it, and then it closed, and we were all bereft. You're suddenly flying high, and then you're back on the streets again. So it was a bit of a shocker. And well, it's a very long story, of course, David.
Yeah, no.
But
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. And how you wrote about how the company treated the actors and the participants after the accident was just mind-boggling.
Yeah. We had signed a non-disclosure agreement. We had signed a hazard pay, which means you were expected to be at risk, and you're acknowledging that. So it was either, play or no pay. So a lot of us played. But most of us, like me, were desperate to be actors on Broadway. So.
No, I understand. Side notes, I loved Henny Youngman until I read your book. Sorry about that.
A lot of women will corroborate that story.
You know what? I believe you 100%. I always thought he seemed like, he put the cigar in his plunger head and did "Take My Wife, Please" joke. He seemed so like a harmless goof. But,
like uncle, a nice Jewish uncle, right? Yeah,
that just sucks. So, I'm apologizing for mankind on his behalf. Because,
I accept on womankind's behalf.
Thank you.
He's a rogue. He's a rogue. He's a bad. Oh, you really?
Well, he was
awful.
He was awful. Hands, let's say, Scott. I mean,
handsy. Yeah. Oh my God.
Him and Ed Asner of all people, Scott. Ed Asner, Lou Grant, really?
Yeah.
I'm not shocked.
Sorry.
I'm not shocked by Ed Asner. Nobody gets a pass. I'm not shocked. I think a lot of those guys are. I don't want to say it was built into their generation, but in a twisted kind of way, it really was.
Yeah.
I have relatives still alive that are in their 90s, who I love dearly, but they got some twisted ways about them, and with a lot of things, and whether it's sexual or race. So, that generation, they grew up, I don't know, the women were really mistreated, man.
We were just ripe fruit to be plucked and rotted.
On to a happier note. You've appeared in some of my favorite television shows of all time, either being the star or appearing in a single episode. Can you share any thoughts about when you appeared on Mr. Belvedere? I was a big fan of that show, and Christopher Hewitt just seemed like a wonderful. I don't want to hear a terrible Christopher Hewitt story now.
He's handsy.
He was gay. He was
okay.
a gentleman of the British order. He was a stage actor. He was delighted to get a series. He never thought he'd make any money as an actor. He was just one of these itinerant utility actors who went around from job to job. So he was very happy doing this series. I think I played a cop. I can't really remember what I did, but it wasn't a very challenging or, a career-changing role.
It's a Detective Wentworth on your IMDb, so you played a cop.
I did, yeah, I guess.
Did you have any scenes with Bob Euchre?
No, I think he was a sportscaster. Is that right?
Yeah, he's a sportscaster, but he was the star. He played the father on the show.
Right.
Yep.
I didn't really hang. See, I don't know much about sports. I apologize. So I didn't tend to sit in his circle.
Either
No,
do I. I'm a sports moron.
But Bob Euchre has kind of transcended sports and baseball.
Yeah,
he had those wonderful, he had those Budweiser commercials where he's like, I must be in the front row. Tell us a little bit about what it was like working with Bob Newhart.
Well, he's the driest guy in the business. Completely relaxed, no effort at all. It was terrific. I loved working with Peter Scolari and Julia Duffy also. Total pros. I got to do a lot of scenes with them on several different episodes. And it was a complete blast. I love what they wrote for me to do. I was kind of like an eccentric therapist who fires Peter Scolari as her client, then immediately tries to seduce him like within minutes. And that was kind of a fun turn. And I got to work with Tom Poston too, who is one of my comedy heroes. So it was a great opportunity. And I was also part of the turning point of the series. I don't know if you know who Jack Riley was. He played Stu Pickles on Rugrats with me.
Okay.
He had been a patient in Bob Newhart's first show about a therapist.
Right.
In one episode, Bob Newhart and Mary Fran are coming to me for counseling. And in the lobby, I come out to greet them. And Jack Riley, who'd been my prior patient, comes walking through. And Bob Newhart and he stare at each other. And Bob Newhart says, "Do I know you?" And Jack Riley says, "Creep, get off me." So then I say, I have to apologize for this client because he was fucked up by this terrible therapist in Chicago, which was referring to Bob's prior show.
Right.
It made it clear that this was a dream, a nightmare he was having while he was still married to Suzanne Plachette on the first series.
Yeah, that's the way the series finale ended, where he wakes up next to his original wife, Susan Plachette, right. And he tells her about the people who are part of the second show, and she just says, "Good night, Bob." I'm remembering this, watching it the first time back in the 80s. I might have been 18 or 19 when that was on, but I remember that being really just a fantastic episode. Another, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place. I'm excited. Please forgive me. I mean, I interviewed Jimmy Carter, and I wasn't this excited. So
what?
So please. No. You are on my two favorite shows. Anybody who knows me will tell you this, of the 80s, and maybe of all time. My two favorite shows were Sledgehammer, which was a show on channels ABC in the 80s with an actor named David Rash.
Oh,
and Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
There it is.
And I have to say, I must confess that as a young high schooler at the time, I had the biggest crush on, was it Miss Musso, right? Correct?
Yes.
On Miss Musso. And that show was so unbelievably clever. You know what was sad? I think a lot of people wrote it off maybe as something of akin to a Ferris Bueller ripoff or something.
It was.
But the show really wasn't. It was so much more clever, and it went in so many different directions that Ferris Bueller never even went in. I mean, you had like a lackey student who was like your right hand man. Was his name Lemmer?
Yes, Lemmer.
Lemmer. Yeah, yes. And I think
the ponytail.
Right. His name was, I think in real life his name was Taj Johnson. And what was so cool about this show is that like Parker and his pals might be out, on the track or on the football field hatching a new scheme, and that character would literally beam into where they are, like Star Trek character, and beam away. And they just did these clever things that other comedic shows, had not done yet as of that time.
Well,
what was it like?
I think the film style was very innovative. They were shooting up my nose. They were making smoke come out of my ears. It was just so clever. And when I read the script originally, I thought, this is an animation script. This can't possibly be done by humans. But it was done by humans. Our shooting days were very long. There was a special effect in every shot. But I loved being on that show. It was such a healthy bunch of people running the show. It was like a very functional family, unlike other series I've been on. And the kids were just so great. I just loved them. I miss them. The show is still running in France and Germany, I think, because we're still getting foreign fan mail. So
Wow.
you know.
Parker Lewis was a very creative show. I loved it. Principal Musso rocks. Thank you, Mr. Robles. I think
Right.
I think Melanie would agree with
Right.
you. Yeah. You know what's also great about that show is the cinematography. It had a color scheme to it that popped, unlike any other show of its time. I mean, there was just so many good things about it. When you were making that show, did you have any inclination that Abraham Benarubi was going to become such a big star?
No, he was the sweetest, though. I'm really happy for him. Yeah, he had a pretty big career after that, not just because of his size, but because of his vulnerability. You know, he's just so adorable. I saw him in Groundlings about 8-9 years ago, and he had gray hair. And he picked me up off the floor, you know, and up to his face and just hugged me. He was just a big teddy bear.
Yep. I mean, 4 or 5 years after that show, he had gray hair. He was on ER already, and then he showed up in the movie Twister, and it was just a great show.
Did you?
Sorry, go ahead, Scott.
I was going to ask her if you got to do any writing or improvisation on Parker Lewis, or that must have been a really tight ship, though, as far as the script.
Yeah, the timing was very specific, and I didn't need to improvise. It was all pretty funny. But of course, the creation of Ms. Musso was all mine. I did a lot of physical things with my character and implied a lot of nuance and innuendo that wasn't written in. And so behavioral, it was improvisation. Dialogue-wise, it was not.
Gotcha.
It was just a great show.
Oh, I love that show.
Yep. And then shortly, I think, after you did Parker Lewis, you did Weird Science. How'd you get involved with that show?
Same producer. They had fired somebody and brought me in to replace the mother. So I only did about 4 or 5. Yeah, so that was fun. And it was Robert Lewis, who'd been one of the producers of Parker Lewis, who just asked me to come in and replace this role.
Okay, I would assume that you got on to the biggest show of all time, Seinfeld, through your connections with Larry David. Would I be incorrect, or would I be correct?
I think you're correct. I think, I was just, it was right after the earthquake in '94, and I was here with a FEMA representative having my damage assessed in my old house. And I got the call right in the middle from my agent saying it was the Sunday, and he said, "Can you go in and do a role on Seinfeld?" And they sent me the script, and it was not a great role, in all honesty, but I had never gotten on Seinfeld before. I had been doing Parker Lewis and other things. So I said yes, and I went in and we rehearsed it that Sunday and the next day, and then we shot it. So it was a very fast thing. About the fire, my little boy's having a birthday party, and there's a hamburger fire in the kitchen. Smoke is coming out. In his haste to get out of the apartment, George knocks over all these children and my mother on the walker, and saying they needed someone to lead them out. You know, why women and children first? They needed a hero to lead the way.
You know what's funny? What makes the world so incredibly small is that my college buddy Jon Favreau plays the clown in that scene, and he went off to do a couple things himself in the.
Absolutely, I had to read twice to make sure I was looking at the right name when the Iron Man came out and the Chef came out, and he really went places. But he was great as Bozo, you know.
It's funny because we both went to Queens College, John and I. And John, in the student union building, I was a student security officer, and John was the guy who made pizza in the pizzeria in this student union building, and we literally just sat there for 4 or 5 years straight, daydreaming about becoming working in the film industry. He may have gotten a little farther than I have, but good for him. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Jumanji.
Yes, animated version of that. I think I was offered that too. Oddly, I mean, it sounds like I have a very cushy career. I have auditioned for most of the jobs I got, but Yeah, that was offered to me. And I played Aunt, what was her name? Aunt Nora. She was a psychotherapist and also the aunt to the kids. And there were no cartoon actors on that except for me. I had done Rugrats, and it was a terrific bunch of actors doing the show. I had a really good time. I think it was just a season or two, but it was great to be part of. I love being a regular on series or an irregular on series because the royalties roll in for years. It's just pitching. It's really been lovely. I had no idea cartoons could make so much revenue. I had studied Shakespeare and ballet and opera, and here I was doing cartoons and making a lot more money, which it supported my being in theater here. It pays nothing.
There you go.
So tell us, Rugrats. You auditioned for Rugrats, right?
I did.
Okay. Dee Dee Pickles.
Yes, I also auditioned on the telephone with the Nickelodeon executives in New York City to play her mother, Ninka, who is the old Jewish Russian woman, a grandparent to the children, who narrated the first animated Jewish holiday specials. Okay, so good. And it was like she was the last grandma that looked like that. You know, in the old days, the Jewish Russian immigrants were chubby with a gray bun and thick ankles and orthopedic shoes. And in this generation, of course, they have really changed. People coming from Russia don't look like that. They wear jeans and tight-ass clothing. And so anyway, I felt like I was showing the last of a lineage as that grandmother. It was fun.
Rugrats, I mean, transcends, I think, just cartoons. It's something that really touched a lot of people. My daughter loves the Rugrats.
Yes, well, the DVDs are out there. Well, it's a download now. I think you can download all of the episodes. And I was very honored to be a part of it. It's now being recreated as a computer-generated animation on the Paramount Plus network, which I have not seen yet. And it's going to be very different. There's not going to be so much of a Jewish element, but other races will be more prominent. And there are other genders, mixed genders, transgenders presented too amongst the children. So I think it'll be a very interesting new series.
And one of our fans, Ken, is saying, what voices did you do on Challenge of the Super Friends?
I think I did Wonder Woman. I think. I don't remember it. I can only tell by going to IMDb and reading what they wrote there. I think that was in the late 70s, early 80s. I'm not quite sure when I did that, but I'm sorry for being so shallow, but I've done hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah, that's a lot. You'd have to have an encyclopedic mind to remember all that work. I'm curious about the stand-up. Did you ever get pulled back to want to do that? Because I know a lot of folks who do it. It's like almost like an addiction.
Yeah, I was addicted for about 3 years. I was doing stand-up at the Improv Club in New York, moonlighting after I did the Broadway show. And then when I was brought out here, thankfully, Bud Friedman let me start going on, opening the shows at the Los Angeles Improv stage. And it gave me a place to be. LA is so vast, and you don't come in contact with other humans unless you make an appointment. New York, we were all crunched together in the subways. So I felt very isolated here, and I was very happy to have the club to go to and my stand-up act to do. It was kind of a musical stand-up act, so I couldn't really transfer it to the Comedy Store or Catch Rising Star, which was just for monologists. I had a lot of comedy songs that I had written with a lot of patter between. I didn't really have my 5 or 10 minute Carson.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But
now, did you go up and did you accompany yourself, or did you have somebody accompanying you?
At the Improv Club, they had a band, a house band.
And they learned your tunes.
And they knew my tunes, and they would play. Sometimes it was just piano, sometimes it was guitar. I was very.
Oh, that's fabulous.
I know. They didn't pay me, but I got to do something great. But it was difficult. Sometimes I'd have to end the evening at 2 a.m. after Robin Williams. And I would be getting laughs, but then I was never sure if they were just his leftover laughs or really laughs for me. So, yeah, I got to work around a lot of really heavy hitters, Gary Shandling and, wonderful women who were coming up too, Rita Rudner, Elaine Boozler was wonderful.
Elaine Boozler, sure.
Yeah, great women coming up, finally.
CJ Robles asked, do you prefer voiceover, TV, or stage acting?
I love a good story. Of course, I love stage acting because you really get to work all the way through a storyline rather than doing it in teeny little bits. I just say that I prefer great stories with great writers and great people wherever it is. And I've been fortunate enough to be part of some really great things. And I'm pleased about that. So I'm ready for all of it. I'm doing a web series, my first web series now. It's very clever. It's called the Corona Dialogues, and we've been doing it on Zoom, two actors only. Bonnie Hunt and Tova Feldschuh are also guesting on the show. We're all recurring. And I'm thinking we're going to be opening it up and doing it in a room together now. So I'm very excited about that.
Wow,
Awesome.
that sounds wonderful. Yeah.
And where can people find that?
This is on YouTube. It's called the Corona Dialogues, and it's written by a very clever writer named Dylan Brody. You can see it on YouTube right now. My episode just went up. And it's very well written, very smart. I play a lesbian publisher, which is, a new role for me. Looking forward to it. And then when we get in the same room, the other actor and I, whose name is Kate Orsini, she's wonderful. I have no idea what will happen. We'll see. It would be my first lesbian turn.
So I wanted to ask you, what was it like to go on the great Johnny Carson Tonight Show?
Oh, well, it was like meeting Mount Rushmore. I was so nervous, but I had a way of putting on a fake persona. We all do this, but I was really adept at it, and it was called glamour. So when I put on glamour, I just somehow the character of confidence came up in me. But I was I guess hostility was the way I coped with my nerves. So I was very flippant with him, but he kind of liked that. And I was on a couple more times. He wanted to play Ronnie Reagan opposite my version of Nancy Reagan. So I got to be in a sketch. He loved doing sketches. I think
on Family Feud.
What?
Yeah, on Family Feud.
Yes, that's right. God, research, young man. So, we did Family Feud with Richard Dawson. And at one point in rehearsal, Johnny said, when I say a silly line as Ronald Reagan, hit me in the head. I said, really? He said, oh, yeah, just hit me. So I hit him, and his head went into the mic, and it made a big bang. And then I thought, oh, my God, I'm going to get thrown off this show and be fired. But he loved it. He loved shit,
Sure.
So I felt more comfortable with him after that, since we had acted together. He was just very sweet to me, really, really sweet to me, despite my nerves. Yeah.
As I recall on that sketch, they actually got the late great Richard Dawson.
Yes.
And Richard Dawson went to kiss you like he does. He would plant a big kiss on every contestant, especially the pretty girls' lips. And you pull away in a great Nancy Reagan voice, say, "Don't mess up my hair."
Or I'll kill you. I'll shoot you in a minute. The security people will shoot you. Yeah, it was fun. It was silly, totally camp, which I love. I also love high comedy. I did a movie with Diane Cannon in the 80s called Having It All, and she was a bi-coastal bigamist. She had a husband in both coasts, and I was her assistant in her design business, helping to cover it up. So I had to go through all these pranks and delusions to distract both husbands from one another. And that was high comedy. It was farcical, but it was also high comedy. There was a lot of emotionality in it. She and I had some great scenes together. I think it's on one of those free stations if you want to watch it. Having It All.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
Now, I wanted to ask you a question about your wonderful book, Odd Woman Out. And, your book is very deep at some points.
Yes.
And after reading it, as a reader, I had a very, very sincere question. And if this is out of line, please say, "Dave, you're a schmuck. Don't ask me this." And if it's not, or if you have an answer, I mean this as sincerely, because I had a very, very similar childhood as you did. So I get different vibes reading your book about how you felt about your dad. My dad, literally, when I was 8 years old, went to work, and I never seen him again. Oh. He reappeared when I was 35, when he found out I had some money. At my house one day, he just reappeared. Now, just to give you an idea a little bit of what, what from that point forward, I had a tremendously scarred mom who had 5 boys who had to, we had to kind of, it was like a pack of wolves mentality. So your reading about your childhood deeply touched me. And towards the end of your book, when your dad is, on his final days at the hospice, you speak totally differently about him than you did throughout the previous part of the book. And it made me wonder, and this is, I don't mean to get deep or anything, if you just say, let's move on, Dave, I totally get it. Did you really love your dad? Because it seemed like you did.
He was my first love. You know how we idolize our daddies when we're little.
Right.
He was the knee I rode. He was the guy that helped me, do homework, who held my head when I was throwing up, when I was little. So, of course, I was very attached to my dad. But then when I started having my own opinions, in our teen years, we do start having our own opinions. There developed this enmity between us. I felt like I had to defend my mother and sister and myself from his demeaning comments. He implied that we were all stupid. We couldn't get along without him. And unfortunately, he didn't leave. Now, I don't want to say that having had him leave would have been good, but we could have well used some space for him so we could find out who we are in the absence of trying to please him. So at the end, he was in the hospice and he couldn't hurt any of us anymore. And he was so scared. He was in so much pain. I had to forgive him. He also got grateful sort of to me for picking up something off the floor. He said, thank you. He'd never said thank you to me my whole life. Everything was his entitlement.
Yes, and a great story about when you went out to get him the ham and Swiss sandwich, and I mean that was such an amazing part of the book, and it was just because there was kind of a tone throughout the book that made me feel differently about your dad than that particular chapter did. So it was really just a brilliant piece of writing because you were leading me in one direction, and then you opened up and you took me in a totally different direction. And every part of your book is really like that. I mean, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I wish I could give you a better review than I am because I'm just a
I love your response, David.
Oh, okay.
It's so wonderful that men are reading the book and getting something out of it. I have a lot of reviews on Amazon, all 5 stars from men. So I'm very touched by your interest and your sticking to it.
No. I couldn't put it down. My just to give you a little background about me, I've been married for almost 30 years. I have a very goofy kind of like Henny Youngman approach on my wife, but she gives it right back to me. We kind of goof on each other. It's very give and take. And as anybody who watches this show, I adore my daughter more than life itself. Her name is Amanda, and she's 17. And she was born in 2003. When she was born, she was the smallest baby to have survived. She was only 8 ounces. My wife gave birth to her something called preeclampsia HELP syndrome. Oh, God. And all the doctors told us she was going to be profoundly disabled and that all these horrible things were going to happen. But to make a long story short, she's now choosing between going to all the famous Ivy League schools and is about to, next September, start a full academic scholarship to the finest institution that when you think of the finest institutions, it's one of those 3 that she's going to choose.
Well, you must be a great daddy.
I'm not sure if I was a great daddy. I was a loving daddy. So I guess that's all dependent.
That's what it takes.
Yeah.
Money, it takes love and belief in your child.
Yeah, and it doesn't hurt to pal around and just do silly fun stuff like, build fortresses in the snow and go tobogganing and do stuff like that. But
good for you. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you. When I was reading your book, I was like, I saw the profound effect that your dad had on you. Yet the Dave who knew of you before the book loved you in Newhart and loved you on Parker Lewis and thought you were hysterical on Fridays. I remember very first episode of Fridays I watched, William Shatner was on and he kept talking into his wallet asking for Scotty to beam him out of that episode of Fridays. And and to see all these wonderful things you had done and how charming and beautiful you had grown up, I was like, wow, it's amazing that there's such a story behind it, and it was just such a wonderful book. And another important question, I got to know, how is Tyrone doing?
Oh, Tyrone is still here.
Okay.
Still living under the sink. I don't maintain him like I should, I'm not sure he's usable anymore. I neglected him since I got married.
Just put him in the refrigerator. He'll be fine.
Oh, really?
I know. It's funny because that's the very first chapter of your book is so... It's so different than the rest, so I just thought it would be
humiliating. It was a very humiliating moment in my life, and that it was commemorated was really upsetting. So I took control of it back again and told it. Absolutely,
and that I would suggest people go to the bookstore and read the first chapter. It's very, very short.
It's on Amazon. Actually, you can read the first chapter on Amazon. You can also listen to my version of the audiobook. I narrate the audiobook, and people who hear my voices in it, I do my mother, I do a lot of the different characters.
I bought the book on from Barnes & Noble, but Audible, resume book.
You did?
Wait, I bought both the Audible and the book. But Alexa, resume book.
Now his style of steering me along like I had no capacity to walk on my own.
Can you hear it?
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. God,
Alexa, pause.
Yes.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
No, I wanted my wife to enjoy the book too, and she's not the type who will sit down and read a complete book. So I was like, get the Audible. So.
Oh, thank you. I hope I'm entertaining, keeping you good company.
No, it was a very, very fantastic book, and everybody out there, make sure you get a copy of Odd Woman out. Scott, is there anything you want to ask Melanie before we let her go? I promised I wouldn't keep her longer than an hour, so I want to keep my promise.
We covered a lot. It was wonderful to get to know you through this interview, and I have tremendous respect for you as an actor. Everything the things I know you from, I knew that there was a very dedicated, trained person in there, or somebody just immensely gifted because of all the different things you've done. But I got to get that book now, so I'll be the next reader.
Thank you. I'm hoping that it's not meant to be titillating. It's meant to be explicit, and it's not meant to be vulgar, but it is meant to be honest. So I'm really gratified that guys like you are reading it. It's really exciting to me, and I hope you have a good journey with it. I really do. It's my honor to have audience members that I relate to singly now, that are just, when people write to me and they say they enjoyed the book, it's like, oh, I have an audience of one in different rooms all over the world now, and that feels really wonderful.
No, I mean, even the story about when you went out and you did the shoot, you were shooting a commercial, I think, at Jones Beach.
Yes.
And the gentleman with the toupee.
Yes.
Classic.
Yeah.
Just a great story.
I still know him. He forgives me. He loved the book. He says, I remember it a little bit differently, but of course we all see our mistakes differently, and his side was very different than my side. So.
And then your story about was Ernest your first boyfriend?
My first love. Yeah.
Just amazing.
Never went all the way, but he should have been the one.
Melanie, I'll tell you, I have a toupee. You can't tell, but it's a really good one.
Get out. No, I can tell. No.
I'm just teasing.
I can tell a toupee at 20 paces.
There you go.
And tell plugs, too.
Absolutely. Well, with that being said, I want to thank you so very much to coming on our show. I'm a little tongue-tied because, I'm fanboying out. But thank you so much. Your book sincerely touched me. Joe, do you have any questions? Our wonderful producer Joe is just a great guy, and
he didn't read the book. How would he be able to form a question?
I didn't tell these two shemps to get the book. I read it. But after doing this show, I'm hoping that these two guys. I know Scott will definitely. I think Joe is probably waiting for the movie.
Excuse me, have you seen my Amazon cart?
Oh, okay.
Hey.
All right. Melanie, is there anything that you'd like to tell our audience on where they could find you or any upcoming works that you have cooking?
Well, just this web series on YouTube called Corona Dialogues, and I hope to be in many more episodes in months to come. And I do plays for the Actors Fund, to benefit the Actors Fund, with a playwright named Eugene Pack. And if you go to the Actors Fund website and look up the Pack plays, you can find some of the plays I've done with terrific, wonderful actors. George Wendt, Lorraine Newman, Marcia Mason is in some of these. James Caan is in some of these plays. So that's been an honor. And I'm writing more things. So go to my website, melaniechartoff.com, if you're interested in knowing more about me.
Awesome. Well, I want to personally thank you for a lifetime of wonderful memories and great television shows like Parker Lewis and Newhart Fridays, and for now as an older gentleman, letting me read such a wonderful book. Ladies and gentlemen, the lovely and talented Melanie Chartoff, thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
And if you're ever in the New York area, I would love to take you out for a cup of coffee.
I'll be there next week, but I'm jammed with family, so sorry. Next time.
That's a very polite way of saying screw you, Dave. I don't like you. I don't like you that much. Mr. Chartoff, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Good night.
Good night, Mr. Chartoff. Wow.
It's got to be the toupee.
It's the toupee. I blew it with the whole toupee thing. No, she was. All kidding aside, sometimes when you have somebody that you really, really admire, when you meet them, 99% of the time they never live up to what you hoped they would. But she was absolutely charming, wonderful, and thank you, Sean. I'm glad you watched with us tonight, and you're part of the End of the Night family.
I didn't get to Sean's question. Sean Lane, I do apologize. I didn't get.
Will ever come out deep in my one side? Oh, I don't think that's something that Melanie would know anyway. But if he's Michael Richards isn't signing off, I guess that would probably mean it's not going to happen. So, what do you think, Mr. Schiaffo?
Wow, you know me, I love actors, and I loved her going in, and I knew she was deep, and I knew she had done a tremendous amount, but so much more than I even would have fathomed. You know, I mean, that's a real gifted talent. Yeah,
no, absolutely, unbelievable, and really, you should check out the book. It's pretty.
I absolutely will. You know, I love reading books by actors and musicians, and I'm sure I'm going to dig it a lot.
Yes, so another episode of our beloved End of the Night in the books. Mr. Schiaffo, is there anything you would like to say to people in parting? You have anything going on? Any big news? Anything shaking?
Just getting my first shot tomorrow. I'm scared. I'm scared. No, thank everybody for always supporting all of my madness. And there's something shooting this summer that I may or may not be a part of. More than that, I can't say. But if you love the films of Kevin Smith, you know he's working on something this summer that I may or may not be a part of. We'll just have to wait and see. But other than that, it's going to be a fun summer of this show. Keep staying tuned, please. Thanks you so much for all the support. And, you know, the usual, the book and the movies and The Wit's End and Darkness Waits. And I'm so very thankful to have any of it and all of it that everybody's been so supportive of. Scott Meany, got a shout out to him. I love that guy. Thank you all. The Vaccine Diaries. Quickly, shout out to Jewel Carey, my better half. This shirt is the West Coast Wildlife Relief. Check that out because they need it. They had a pretty terrible year or two between the fires and everything else. So, forgot to mention the shirt. My better half is at it again.
By the way, don't be scared of the shot at all. It actually, they put a little like a Band-Aid-y thing that looks like a clear piece of plastic on your skin first. And for some reason, when they do that and they pinch it closed, you don't feel the shot at all. So no worries. No worries.
Just make sure they put it in your arm.
Yes.
Why couldn't they just make it something I could snort? I'm good at that.
Mr. Ridgely, do you have anything in closing?
No, not really. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching, we'll actually wait right now. Go hit the like button and subscribe button on David Lee Madison's The End of the Night Facebook page and the Tech Defects YouTube channel, where these shows will be archived. Please.
All right, now next Sunday we have another enormous show. We have none other than superstar actress Catherine Mary Stewart. Did I get that right?
Did you get it right?
Yeah.
I believe that's correct.
Okay.
Mary Stewart.
No. I know her name. I just want to make sure I have my dates correct. No. Yeah, next week we have Catherine Mary Stewart, correct?
That would be Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, yes. From Night of the Comet and all those wonderful. It's an awesome dude.
Oh, boy. Wow. That's gonna
Scott
be
Meany's
great.
and Sean are collaborating, and we also have a wonderful Darkness Waits all-star episode coming up soon too, with the lovely Libby McDermott, the director, and Matt Staley, and Scott and I, and Jim Crut, and a whole bunch of shenanigans. We got all
the
kind
poster
of
isn't as lit up as I'd like it to be, but it's the Darkness Waits poster right there.
right there, ladies.
I see it. It looks awesome.
Yes, right there.
I need to get that lit up better, I think. Gotta fire my lighting guy. Oh, wait. That's me.
That rat bastard.
Right? All these damn strip lights are costing me a fortune.
I'm standing here writing what I'm supposed to say at the end, because right here for a split moment, my brain was actually functioning, and I remembered what my line was.
That you've been saying for a year plus.
Yes, for a year plus.
Okay.
Boy, you're becoming very, very edgy and grouchy in your old age, Mr. Ridgely.
Sorry?
You saying you for a year plus?
See, you know what the fun part about being a producer is?
Yes, you're going to zap me.
I can do this. And
Ladies and gentlemen, the Joe Ridgely Show! Yay!
never doing that again.
No. You're way too talented. In fact, when you check out of this, when we're doing interviews and like you just disappear, I feel like saying, come back! But it's usually like I'm in the middle of a sentence when I'm talking. What did you guys think of our interview tonight? Did you think it went off well?
Oh, very well. She was wonderful.
Yeah.
A lot of great questions. Kudos to you for reading the book. I wasn't able to get around to. I knew of the book, but I did my homework. But I would have loved to have read the book for her appearance as well. But I will definitely be getting that book.
No, it's a great book. And yes, The Darkness Waits is available on Tubi and a whole Amazon. So make sure you give Darkness Waits a watch. You could see me and Goofy Grunkle Scott in that film. Look, we're in the back of the box. How cool is that?
Oh, wow.
Man.
Forgot about that.
Man, I'm a handsome devil.
That poster really, the artwork and the poster are killer. They really are.
Yeah, it's just a great movie. Darkness Waits on Tubi, yes. With that being said, we will see you guys next Sunday night with Catherine Marie Stewart. We're going to have a wonderful show. We have all kinds of fun shenanigans planned. And please, if you get a chance, give Scott and I's film Wits End a look. It's out on all major streaming platforms. And oh, by the way, if Scott and I ever shoot our scene for Full Moon Fever, ever, like before, like one of us passes away of old age, which will probably be me, it'll be done. So Scott, we gotta get that shit done, man.
Okay, man. Listen, I'm here in New Jersey, and I know I'm not holding out on you, brother.
No, I know. I got to send you the film because I want you to start working on some music. You're going to flip out when you see this movie.
I'm sure.
Well, he sounds overly enthusiastic, doesn't he, Joe?
Yeah, I'm waiting for my credit in it also. But anyway.
If you'd come up to the Northeast, I would put you in it.
I'm teasing.
I would love to have a werewolf tear you apart, Joe.
So would my wife.
With that being said, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Melanie Chartoff, for being on our show. Thank you, everybody who watched us tonight. We love doing this show, and we have such a good time with our friends out there who watch it. And I guess with that, no man is a failure who has friends. Good night, everybody. See you next Sunday.